Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I swatch and store my Distress Ink and Distress Oxide combos. So if you look at these swatches, I've got this die cut from the Waffle Flower die cut swatch combo. There's a name, there's stems and there's dies, and I'll put all of it in the link below, links in the description below, and as well in my blog, and the link to my blog in the description below. But all of these, the ones with the grey reinforcer is for Distress Oxide inks, and the ones with the black reinforcer is Distress inks. So this is how I store them. I eventually will store them into this big rings that I have, and I'll keep that behind my chair where I'm working in my craft space. But this is how I've started putting them all together, and I'll store put all the greens and blues together, all the pinks and oranges, pinks and purples together, so it's easier to find the colors or backgrounds I want. And I have, using the same color combo swatch, I think it's called, from Waffle Flower, I could put a stamp and put the names of the inks behind each swatch. There's a little stamp to put the color of each swatch here. I've not bothered with that because I know what these colors are. Like, this is a yellow, an orange, and a red. So if you can generally see what the colors are. So I know which box and storage box I have it in. So it's easy to get to. Now, how I store my my Distress ink pads, my foam pads and all, I have it in a video, and I'll put that in the link below as well. So now I'm going to show you how I do my swatches. So firstly, I use the Waffle Flower mini media mat, which is great. It also allows the paper to stay, so it doesn't move when it's on my glass mat, and it also allows the paper to stay in place when I'm doing my ink blending. So this is the swatch paper. I cut it a swatch card that I use, and it's the Strathmore BRISTOL smooth card. Now that's the card I use to do all my ink blending. So I actually will do and I always do my swatches on the very card that I'll do the projects on. So here it's cut 3 inches by 2 1/4 inches, which is slightly bigger than the tag that I'll put it on. I've already got it available here. So this is the colors I'm going to use for my first swatch. So it'll be nice and easy to just paste it on here. Now it's going to be a little bigger, and I can cut it out. The reason I could do it a little bit bigger is because the edges, the color will pull a bit when you're doing your ink blending. So I like to have it a little bit bigger so it's nice and easy. So the first thing I do is I'll get my ink blending tools. I've got 3 of them, and the colors I need are going to be Twisted Citron, Pine Needles, and Chipped Sapphire. And I have them all stored in these storage boxes. So these are the Tim Holtz storage boxes that I keep them. I removed the cover so it's nice and goes into my Alex drawers quite easily. So I get my Twisted Citron, my Pine Needles, where's Pine Needles, and Chipped Sapphire. Chipped Sapphire is in the other one. Chipped Sapphire. So these are the colors I'm going to use now. So next thing I do is I get my foam blends, blending foams. So I've got my Chipped Sapphire, Twisted Citron, and my Pine Needles. Again, how I do this is all in the link below. The video that I've done, all this storage ideas are in the link below. Check out the link in the description below. So let's get started here. The good thing about this, it doesn't move, so it's easy for me to do. So when I do 3 ink blends, I always start with the first and the third, and then I blend the middle. So you've got your Twisted Citron here. So you start from the edge and you do circular motions. Now, Distress inks are quite translucent. They're not as opaque as Distress Oxide inks. So sometimes you may need to put a few layers. But this is quite a smooth card, which really allows the ink blending to happen really well. But if you want it a little bit darker, I'll show you in a minute what I do. So I do this Twisted Citron. Then I've got Chipped Sapphire. I probably best to do is turn this so it's easier. Now, there's another way to kind of layer up the colors. You can wait for it to dry and put more colors. But another way of doing it is pouncing some colors on it. Now, this way. Actually, my younger son was doing some ink blending with me, and he decided to do some pouncing. He said it gets the colors on, and I thought, oh, that's a bit weird, but actually it does put the colors on a little bit darker, so it saves you having to do so much ink blending. So can you see the color intensify immediately? But it still looks quite split. So what you do is you pounce it in between the colors. Can you see it blend already? Yeah. This is Luke's method. I really thought first, what was he doing? And then I thought, that looks really good. So I'm going to call it the Luke Brown method. It looks really good. It's a little bit wet. Now the great thing about this, when it's wet, if you sprinkle a clear embossing powder, you can get a lovely glazed look. So rather than buying all those embossing glazes, you can do that now and get that. So it's really good. Or you can leave it to air dry. I'm going to leave it to air dry and get on with my next swatch. It's so easy to clean up this mini media mat. You just use your damp stamp chamois and just wipe it. Nice and easy and ready for your next ink blending. And these colors, it's easy enough to put it back. So I'm going to use the Twisted Citron and a bit of the pine needle here. I'm just going to wipe it here just to clean the foam, and it's ready to use for the next one. So the pine needle, I'm just going to take it out and put it back here, and same with the chipped sapphire, because I don't need that for these ones. So then I'll get my next batch of colors and get back here. Here's another swatch color I'm going to do. I'm going to again use my Twisted Citron. The reason you see Twisted Citron in most of my ink is because of it's new. I just got it. Now, before I get into the next swatch, I'm going to tell you how I kind of look at some of these colors. So if you look at the color wheel, how I always try to start when I get a new color, and there's going to be a new color released soon. I think it's going to be 26th of February 2022. So that's why I'm looking to get this video released as soon as possible. So I know everyone will be doing some new color swatches. So you can go with the same hues. So for example, this is one that was done by my son. I used the Pouncing Method. But these colors are Twisted Citron, Mauve Lawn, and Rustic Wilderness. Twisted Citron, Mauve Lawn, and Rustic Wilderness. So you use greens, different greens. You got the light, the mid, and the dark green. So that's one color combination. Or you could actually go for like what I did just now. You use colors that are next to each other in the color value, but also next to each other in the color wheel. So the green and blue are next to each other. So you either go the same color shades next to each other, or complementary, opposite each other. So you got various combinations. So this is another one that was done. You can see this one I did just now. So you can see all the different shades of green. So they tend to go together. So when there's a new color, I always start with the same shades, various light, mid, and dark. And then I go for the, what they call the analogous colors. And then I go for the complementary colors. So you can go for a combination of these colors and see how it goes. You got cool tones, dark tones. So that's kind of how I generally try. And then every so often you'll come up with something really different and go for that one. So here we are. We've got Twisted Citron, Squeezed Lemonade, and Spiced Marmalade. So shall we give this a go? Now we go with the Pouncing Method. If you want a darker color, this is what you do. There's some orange here. You can either use a cloth or you can just clean it off on a piece of scrap paper. Here I did a different color combination where I had a picked raspberry, abandoned coral and seedless preserves. Here I did the usual circular motion, translucent look. And here I did the pouncing method. As you can see, the one on the left is a lot more vibrant, a lot wetter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one next step. I'm going to sprinkle it with clear embossing powder. So you get the embossing glaze look without spending the money buying the embossing glaze powder. And there you have it. It's nice and shiny. So these are the same colors, but look at the intensity of it. You get a translucent look when you do the circular motion. You do the circular motion, blend it, and then you start pouncing it for my more in-depth, intense color. I call it the Luke Brennan pouncing method because he's the one who started it. Now you can get another layer here if you put some embossing powder. Embossing ink, sorry. Let's try that, shall we? Let me clear this first. Now you can get another layer to show you how you can get a thicker layer. So you take your embossing Versamark, which is your sticky ink. And the second layer gives it a smoother, seamless look. So that's a little tile. Looks like, if you layer it, you can get like a chipboard. Yeah, so look at how different the looks you can get from these two. One layer, some intense color and some clear embossing powder. All the details of all my ink combos, I've taken a lot of time to put them all in my blog, so do head over to my blog. You'll see the details of all the color combinations.
Hi guys, today we're going to be doing some ink blending, and here you can see I have my tools. I have my inks on my left, my Waffle Flower Mini Media Mat. We also have our piece of card with the colours that we need, our card which we're going to be doing the blending on, our ink blending tools on our right, and our foams. So now we fit our foams in the ink blending tools. So top left, here we have Twisted Citron. Nobody's used this before, so I'm the first to. Here we have Mowed Lawn, and here we have Rustic Wilderness. So guys, now that I've got everything set up, I think it's time to start. Since Twisted Citron is a new colour, I just need to dab it and get the colour on it, and then once I've done this enough, we're just going to compare it to the top of the box and see if it's the same colour. And time to compare it. Yep, looks pretty similar. Okay, let's start. Now that we are ready, I will start off with some Twisted Citron. Now, you start from the edges and do little circular motions. Now, instead of layering it, I like to go further in and create a border with the next colour. so that I know not to go past that line, so the next colour has enough room. After this, we do little circular motions on top, and to intensify the colour, do little dabs. Now, since I will do the rest, and I will leave you with some music. And as you can see here, we have our finished product. You can see the shininess of it, niceness of it. That's shiny. Oh. And that is us done. I would like to thank my mum for letting me be in this video, and good day.
This is quite a few I've done now. This is a lot. There's a lot more I've done, but this is the last few that I've done. So let me show you how I compiled them. So let me put this all aside. So here we go. Let me zoom in a bit. Right. So this starts with seedless preserves. Seedless preserves starts here. Then you got blueprint, sketch, and chipped sapphire. So it really depends. So now I've got too much seedless preserves here. So what I tend to do is I cut a little bit, because and there you go. So you've got a good representation here. So this gives you the right color combo as well as the colors you have here. Now if you want to put the color combo here, let me show you how you do this. So this is the waffle flower stamp. I just take the tiny one, a tiny square, and I put it there. So you could put the colors there like that if you want, but I've decided not to. It would seem it's too much hassle because I already know the colors. but these are the colors you end up with. So I'm going to go and set all this done, and then I'll show you the colors. But remember, all these colors are listed on my blog. So the link to my blog is in the description below. Catch you in a bit. I have added quite a few layers to this card panel, which is putting embossing ink and clear embossing powder. Now, if you've got ultra thick embossing enamel, the process will get faster, but I didn't have it to hand, so I just used my fine clear embossing powder. Took up quite a bit of it, but now I'm ready for the next step of the process. This technique involves using a stamp to stamp onto the enamel while it's still wet, so you get the impression of the stamp on it. Now I'm using a red rubber stamp, a very old stamp from Basic Grey. It's not available now, but this is probably more than 10 years old. Now you could use a clear stamp as well, but to protect the stamp it's best to put some embossing ink on it, so it keeps the stamp protected. Now red rubber stamps are more robust, so you can use it directly. Put a final layer of embossing ink and some more embossing, clear embossing powder. Now this layer, if you've got ultra thick embossing enamel, would be really good, so you get a deeper impression. I need to get myself some UTEE, as they call it, ultra thick embossing enamel. Now, to get the impression on the embossed surface, I tried a few methods. Just putting the stamp over it didn't quite work. Now, it might have worked if I'd used UTEE, which is a thicker enamel. But in the end, I decided to put it into my MISTI, into my stamping tool, heat emboss it, and see if I can just get the impression quickly. It worked a lot better. But next time I do this technique, I'm definitely going to get myself some ultra thick embossing enamel. So it worked enough for me to make my card, and I just get on with it. To do these three techniques, I use my swatch, where I use the Tumbler Glass, Shaded Lilac, and Dusty Concord. I use the little tiny square to show the colors in there. I don't do it for all of my swatches, but I did it for this one. So here, the first one I did is I let the colors be translucent, because I used the circular method and blended the colors. The second version I did the same thing first, and then I pounced. I used the Look Brand Pouncing Method. And the third one, you saw me do that, where I did the same thing as the second method, but this time I put some clear embossing powder a few times, a few layers, and while it's still wet, impressed upon it a stamp to get that image. So these are three different versions of the techniques that I use. I'm going to convert these into cards. So this is the background where I pounce the color, so you get a more intense color of the Tumbler Glass, the Shaded Lilac, and the Dusty Concord. I let it dry overnight, and then I did some splatters from the Also New brush marker refill, the ultraviolet, and I used the Altenew iridescent ink spray, and I didn't spray it. I took it out and I just did some splatters like that, just like that, by tapping it. That's what I did. I left all of it to dry overnight. The thing about the iridescent color is beautiful because it kind of takes on the color of its background, so it gets a little iridescent, light lilac. I like that color. So I used that and I let it dry overnight. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stamp an image so it's completely dry, just to make sure. I'm going to stamp an image with white embossing powder. But before I do that, I know it's completely dry, but I'm going to check first whether it's quite completely dry. So as you can see, there's nothing sticking to it, which means it's ready for me to stamp and emboss. There you go, it's ready. What I'll do is I'll get my stamp now. I cut down the card to A6 size, so I'm going to use an A6 card as the base card, so it'll be easier to centralize the sentiment I want to put. So the sentiment I'm going to use is from the Darkroom Capture Life set. I like this sentiment. It says, life is like a camera, just focus on what's important and capture the good times. Develop from the negatives, and if things don't work out, just take another shot. I really like that. You know, basically the gist of it is what's for you won't go past you. That's the gist of that sentiment, and I really like it. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to set it up in my Misty. So with a lovely background like this, you just need a big solid sentiment, and that's, you don't have to do much. I might put some embellishment, some gems. You know, I love my gems. But that's all you need. So I'm going to centralize this, let the dough of my Misty pick it up, and before I go anywhere, I'm going to put another load of embossing powder. Not embossing powder, anti-static powder. I just don't want it sticking anywhere else. Okay. And because this is quite a solid stamp, I'm going to just rub my fingers around it to get rid of that sheen when it's a new stamp. I've not used this stamp before. And then I get my Versamark and go with it. So I missed a little bit the T here. So what I'm going to do is, this is a Versamark pen. So basically you have the same sticky ink, but you have it in a pen form. I'm going to see if I can get that done here. It's not uncommon for such a big stamp for some bits to miss out. Now, because I still have my stamp and my Misty, I could have stamped it again, but I didn't want the whole thing to be stamped again, just in case I mess up and misalign some of the other bits. Oh, there you go. So this one is just, this card's pretty much done. So this is the card that I made with the background where I intensify it by pouncing, but I didn't put embossing powder on it. But this is the background which I put some clear embossing powder on it. I think I put 5 layers if I'm not mistaken, and then stamped it with the basic grey Formula Fun stamp. It's a red stamp. Now, if you're going to use a clear stamp on hot embossing surface, if you like, then you probably want to put some Versamark ink on the clear stamp so you don't damage it. These red rubber stamps are a little bit sturdier, so they can handle the heat a little bit. So what I did is I just put it onto a 5x7 card, and to keep it really simple, I used the Everything Will Be Okay die cut from Altenew. A few layers. I think there's about 4 layers here. It's a bit thick. And then I used a red heart. I cut the heart out separately. Another 5 times stuck it together and put some Ranger's Glossy accent on it to give it that shine. This is quite a shiny card. I really like how it turned out. So these are the two backgrounds. And what did I do with the other background? I ended up making 3 cards with it. Here we go. So this is the background that I just put a single layer of ink blending on it. So this is when I die cut it. So this is the outline. The inserts of this, I put it in this card. And then I die cut the outline in this purple card from Memory Box cardstock. And I put some of the purple insert of the purple butterflies in here. And I decided to go to town with some of my tiny gems and put it. I think it took a little bit of time, but I like giving this bit of detail in my card. And these sentiments are from the Pink Fresh Studio Perfect Sentiments hot foil plates. I have a whole bunch of hot foiled sentiments that I put in a little bowl. So I have it on to hand to put to my cards. And this card, I did the same thing, but because I didn't use a gold foil sentiment, I used this sentiment from Waffle Flower. I think it's a Waffle Flower label maker. This sentiment here. So the good thing about this is you can stamp the sentiment, all one solid stamp, and then you can die cut it all at the same time. So I've got loads of sentiments. So I kept it all in a little container so I can use the sentiments anytime I want. So that's what I did with this, with the Waffle Flower sentiment. And I'm just keeping you in my prayers. And I used tiny pearls to put in the middle of. Now I kept this quite 3D. And how did I do that? So just recently I got this eye crafter. It's a burnisher and pad, and I decided to use it for my my butterflies. So what I did is I got a butterfly. Let me see if I've got any balanced butterflies. So I got this butterfly, which is quite a thick card. I put it here, and this burnisher and pad, it comes with a burnishing tool. This is called a foam sculpting pad. And this is called a dual tip burnishing tool. Now you can use this to do flowers. You press it in the center and give it a 3D effect. What I did is I used this bit here and I just pressed the middle. I just wanted the middle to have a little bit of a indentation. And then I put some glue at the back and I just stuck it on. So that gives me this 3D effect. Can you see here? I just like that. It's very subtle, but you can actually bring it up like that. So you can see the color underneath. You can see this. And I put tiny pearl gems in it. I really like how these cards turned out. And all of these backgrounds are using the Waffle Flower Outline Butterflies panel. I've had this for a little while. I've not used it. So I thought I'd give it a go with this. So I ended up doing 3 cards with this single blended background. So you can see the outline here, the insert of the butterflies in here, and I use that here. And you can see some splatters here as well. So the splatters here, I use some of my old misty stuff. This is very old Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist. It's a Delphinium. I use the Alter New Ink Spray Sea Glass, and I also use for the brighter purples the watercolor brush marker from Alter New, the ultraviolet color. I just wanted to go with the theme of these colors, so I just chose whatever I had and did some splatters. So you could do that with your watercolors as well. Just mix a few colors and splatter it so you can see it quite subtle. It was quite bright, but I decided to do some ink blending on top of what's already an ink blend and outline. So these started off with white with some ink splatters, but I pretty much put the same colors, albeit slightly lighter, to get that look. So these are the 3 butterfly cards that I came up with. And this is the one with the glaze on it. And this is just the intensified Pouncing Method background. Now these are all, I wanted to use the same background colors because I wanted to show you that even though I use this, so I chose the color combination from this swatch. I really like the color and how it looked. I chose it from this swatch, and this is using the Pouncing Method, so it's a little bit intensified, the color, but I wanted to use the same color for all this to show you can use the intensified method to sprinkle some embossing powder and stamp on it, albeit a few times. Here you don't have any clear embossing powder, it's just on its own. Let it dry and put some splatters if you want. I like splatters. And then here you just did a single version and you've got various looks. So you can get a lot from your embossing powder, your distress inks. I love it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Now let me show you These are all the colors I have. Now, all of these colors, this is all my, now I've got so many that I've kept it in two separate rings, if you like. These are all my distress inks. These are all my distress inks. Now, all of these color combinations, I tried to put it in some kind of a family color order. Some of it's not possible. And these are all my distress oxide inks. I've got a lot more on distress oxide inks. So I tend to keep this available anytime I want to get some inspiration, depending on either pattern paper or what kind of color I want to make. I keep it available here, and it really helps me with my card making. Now I've got all of this. It's taken a little bit of time. I've got all of this listed on my blog. Head over to my blog. The link to my blog is in the description below, and you can see what you like and maybe try to do your own swatches or get some inspiration of color combinations there. This is all I've made. The focus of this video is really the ink blending and making swatches and seeing how best you can start with your ink blending if you want to start making a card and think what the color combinations are. Just a little bit of recap. Look at your color wheel. Start with the colors with the same value, the same shades but different values. Then go for the analogous colors, the colors next to color wheel, and then go for your complementary colors, the colors opposite. And you can come up with some amazing colors. The combinations are infinitesimal. So, because there are so many ink colors in the range, this just ink range. So I hope you'd give it a try. And if you do, please, and you put it on social media, please use the hashtag #SpreadingHandmadeShare. I would love to see your projects, your color combinations, etc. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And when you do subscribe, remember to press the notification bell so you're alerted when a new video is uploaded. In the meantime, happy crafting. I hope you enjoy trying all these techniques, and do let me know what you think of this video. Do you want more videos like this? I really like to hear your comments, and I really appreciate you stopping by. Thank you and have a lovely day.